Good morning, everyone. Can I have your attention? First off, I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. As we formally start to discuss our Revere's version of our CityStat program, what we're fondly calling RevStat. Before I just say a few words, we have a new employee here with us today that I'd like you all to welcome. She is going to be heading up our new rec center, our regional 911 program, and so I'm very happy and proud to have Julie Davey with us. So Julie, congratulations. Since taking office back in January of 2011, it was January of 2012, I believe. That's when I actually took office. But really, since 2011, since campaigning for mayor, I have been committed to introducing to the city a program of performance management, or otherwise known as CityStat, in order to ensure resident tax dollars are being spent efficiently. Over the past year and a half, members of our administration have been working with analysts from the Collins Center at the University of Massachusetts to implement our performance-based management program, which once again is called RevStat. We have successfully worked with the DPW, fire, and police departments through the RevStat program. The purpose of the presentation today is to introduce all of our city department heads to the program and discuss the history of CityStat and performance management. With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to Michael Ward, who is the Director of Municipal Services with the Collins Center at the University of Massachusetts. Mike will be discussing the history of CityStat and performance management. Mike works on a variety of government projects, including regionalization, performance management, research projects, and charter reform work. Mike has worked for local governments in Massachusetts and New Mexico. As a budget analyst for the town of Concord, he helped the town begin integrating performance measurement into its annual budget process and assisted with the financial management of a recreation center enterprise fund, as well as working on numerous budget and procurement projects. So please welcome Mike Ward.
Thank you very much. Good morning. As the mayor indicated, I'm the Director of Municipal Services at the Collins Center for Public Management at UMass Boston. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about the Collins Center, about CityStat, about the history of it, what it is, what performance management is, and what this program is, and then I'm going to turn it over to the folks who've been on the ground here working on this for the last about year or so, and they'll give you a little bit more detail. And I really do want to say just at the start, it's been a pleasure to work with Revere so far. It's been a pleasure to work with the mayor and Miles and George and the rest of the team. They've shown great leadership in this, and we've been really thrilled and excited to have the city as a partner on this effort. So just to give you a little bit of background, I'll tell you first, go back to the beginning, tell you a bit about what the Collins Center is. The Collins Center, as the mayor indicated, is part of UMass Boston. We're within the McCormick Graduate School of Policy and Global Studies, but we are a part of the university itself. We're a fairly new institution. We were created back in 2008 as a resource for cities, towns, state agencies, and other public entities. We provide consulting, technical assistance, training, and a variety of other services to, again, all different types of public entities throughout Massachusetts. On the municipal side, we work on everything. Obviously, we do performance management. We also work on charter reform, regionalization. We do operational and organizational studies. We do compensation classification studies. We do personnel bylaw review or policy review. It's really a wide range of topics. We work in cities and towns from end to end of the Commonwealth. So we really try and be as much of a resource as we can for Massachusetts municipalities. So again, we were created, and if you, I'm going to go through a little bit, I think you also have this in your packets, a little bit of a quick history here to kind of connect the center to the where we are now, why we're here, and the work that's going on here in Revere. So the center, as I said, was founded in 2008, and at this, right around the same time that we were created, there were three cities, the cities of Amesbury, Somerville, and Springfield, which got together and decided they wanted to find a way to share data, share best practices, talk about ways they can improve. So they created this group called RevStat, and if you'll see if as we go down this, that we quickly became coordinator of this group. The Collin Center, were new. This group was new. It seemed like a good match, so we took on the role of helping them. And what it became was essentially a quarterly meeting. Each meeting focused on a different topic, and municipal officials and department staff from whatever the topic was would get together and discuss data and best practices. So over the course of the next few years, both the Collin Center grew, the number of projects that we were doing grew, what our scope grew. And at the same time, RevStat grew and grew and grew. The number of folks attending those meetings increased rapidly. We started seeing officials from outside of Massachusetts, other New England states coming to the meetings, and so we changed the name to New England StatNet, and it's been continued to expand ever since. Then around 2011, some of the cities that had been participating in this from the beginning wanted to expand performance management even further, applied for a grant from the state's Community Innovation Challenge Grant Program, and they got the grant, and they used that money to basically create this program that I'm going to tell you a little more detail about shortly. So the program was funded. It was a 6-month trial period that started in August 2012. The trial period went very well. Municipalities were interested in paying some level of fee to help support the work. The state wanted to provide money to allow it to continue to expand. So we've built a model that has been able to take on new municipalities. We currently have about 25 cities and towns in Massachusetts in the program. We're on our way up to somewhere between 35 and 40 over the next 6 months. If we can click over, let me tell you briefly about the mission of the program. The mission is twofold. First, we want to expand the use of performance management data, goals, and measures in Massachusetts municipal government in the short term. And we want to, the second piece is we want to embed data use and performance management in the culture of municipal government so that whether or not our program continues, and we hope it does, and we think it will, but whether or not we do, we want this to continue. And I think, it's sort of important that the perspective we're bringing to this is we want to help you use data in your departments to for whatever policy issues, whatever management decisions you need to make. We want to provide a service for you. We want to be the support that allows you to do that, allows the mayor and his staff, that allows George, Miles, and all of you to basically understand your own operations in different ways, to ask questions in ways that will help you think about what you're doing. And we know that every department is stretched. We know that departments oftentimes don't have the IT systems that at this point in time that they need to use data. Well, we want to help be part of the solution in any way we can to kind of think through how you can do that. And again, another part of this is simply that the usage of data we see across the state, and I'm sure you feel it yourselves, I'm sure you see it across the nation, is that the public is demanding more data. And so we want to be a resource for you to help you create the types of data that will help you explain and tell your story to the public. That's really another important piece of this. So let me just give you two quick definitions here. The first definition, and these are our definitions, there's a million different definitions out there if you go on the web, they're all roughly within the same ballpark. The first definition is of performance management and how we see it. We see it as basically the ongoing systematic use of data, goals, and measures in management and policy making. So again, that's what we're trying to help you do. That's what we're trying to help the mayor's office and the mayor's staff do. The particular approach that we have focused on and we have encouraged municipalities to use because we've seen it be successful. It's not the only approach by any means, but the one that we encourage and that the mayor and his team have been working on here is called CityStat. And you'll see there, CityStat is essentially, it's an approach where managers use frequent, regularly scheduled, data-driven meetings and sustained follow-up to focus on tackling issues and improving performance. Just to give you a little history of where this whole idea came from, it was first implemented in a city roughly in 2000 by Baltimore Mayor Martin O'Malley, and he took that idea loosely from something called CompStat, which was implemented in the New York City Police Department in the 90s. I should say, though, the CityStat approach and that as it has evolved is very different from the CompStat approach that if you've seen media coverage or seen footage of what the old CompStat meetings look like, it's very different. Those CompStat meetings were very contentious. They were very public. CityStat has evolved into a much more collaborative, I think, approach, a much more internal chance to have strategic discussions about data and policy. So I hope you won't associate CompStat necessarily with the approach that's going on here, but think of it more like a municipality-wide, a more collaborative approach. So the way it works, prior to the meetings, the department that is going to be the topic of a particular meeting and the analyst or analysts are going to gather data. They're going to put together a presentation. There's going to be discussion of the data and the issues that pop up at that presentation, and then the follow-up to that will be agreeing on who's going to do what by the next meeting, depending on what questions and issues have popped up. And then, so just one last little bit, as you see there, that in your packet, that Mayor O'Malley credited CityStat with saving Baltimore more than $350 million since its inception, and Mayor O'Malley is actually now Governor O'Malley, Governor of Maryland, and has a state stat program that he uses at the state level. And if you believe some of the whispers, Governor O'Malley thinks that he's going to make an attempt to become President O'Malley, so maybe will continue to push this further and further up the level of government. But he's, again, still using it at the state level. He found it very useful at the municipal level. So let me just tell you quickly about the particular way our program is set up, so you can kind of understand, how what Revere is doing fits in with what the program is generally and what the other municipalities we're working with are doing. So at the core of the program is what we call an analyst, and Sarah, who many of you have met and who's going to be speaking momentarily, is the analyst who is serving Revere on this program. And Sarah works with a group of municipalities. And what's useful about that is she can learn and see how things are done in each of those municipalities that she's working in and share those ideas quickly. And what we find is that every municipality is doing some things well, and every municipality could use improvement on some things. And so this approach, and if just click on through to the next one, there you go. So this approach allows us to really share ideas and innovations quickly. So Sarah's got this set of municipalities. You can see what's working in one and really help you think about ideas and take the good ideas you have and help share them with other municipalities. At the same time, Sarah is backed up by a team of subject area experts at the Collins Center. So if there are things that she hasn't seen, she can ask us for assistance, and we have people who've been working in each of the subject areas for decades and can help out with that. And then the real power of this program is there isn't just one Sarah. Currently, there are 5 Sarahs, and actually heading up to 6, and then hopefully a few months after that, 7 analysts on the team. So again, all working with different groups of municipalities and able to share data and information and ideas, innovations across them. So we get the real power of sharing those ideas in a really efficient way. To give you a sense of who's in it, this is actually, I need to update this. This is a month or two old. There's a couple of changes, but you can see on that map roughly who's in the program. Again, one or two need to be added, one or two need to be taken off, but that's more or less the cities and towns that are participating in one way, shape, or form in this program or are about to start. Some of the orange ones have not started yet, but will be starting over the next couple months. So you're part of this program. We're, again, trying to provide these services to cities and towns across the Commonwealth. We're trying to help you in any way we can use data, use measures, use goals in your own operations and management. So that, again, that's a very quick overview of what the program is, what the Collins Center is. Miles and George and Sarah all have my contact information. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have by phone or email after, later on if you want to ask anything more. At the same time, the Collins Center, we do project work on a variety of different issues, so if there is interest on that, feel free to get in touch with me about that as well. And at this point, I will turn it over to Sarah, who's going to tell you a little bit more about RevStat specifically, I think. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. Most of you already know me from our budget meeting a couple of weeks ago, but for those of you who don't, my name is Sarah Concannon, and like the mayor and Mike said, I'm an analyst with the Collins Center. Great. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what actually happens here in Revere. Revere has been a part of our program since July 2012. That was the month that we had our kickoff meeting, our initial meeting with the mayor and his team. And then in August, we started working with some departments. So we started working with the DPW and the police departments first. And we worked with them for about 8 months through the grant cycle, and then when we knew that we had funding from the state to continue, we continued past the new year. And then in about February or March 2013, we added the fire department to our program. And so we've been working with those 3 departments for a number of months now. And the way that it typically works is that George or the mayor or Miles or perhaps one of the department heads will ask a question or bring up an issue that they want to learn more about. And I go out and I work with the department heads or their support staff to identify any data that exists that we can use to answer questions. And if there are no data, then I work with them, the departments again, to establish ways of collecting data and seeing if we can find any data. So a lot of times it's as simple as saying, okay, we don't know how to answer this question. Let's set up an Excel sheet and just have one of our support staff try to keep track of the information for a month or two and see what comes out of that. So, and I'm going to let the department heads come up and say a little bit about a specific topic that we've looked in each department. So I'll save that for just a minute from now. But the long-term goal of the mayor is to have RevStat be a permanent part of his administration so that more departments within the city can be helped. And that really means that the city needs a full-time analyst here on the ground every day to work with you guys. And so right now, Miles and George Laurie and the mayor and I are working to develop a strategy on how to make that happen here in the city. And it takes some time to build that capacity, but eventually that's what's going to happen. And it really is the mayor's intention to start bringing more departments in as resources allow. So you could be next, but it's not that scary, as you'll hear from the department heads. So, and actually, you guys already are sort of getting involved through the budget process. As you all know, this year the mayor is asking every department to include additional supplemental information that is going to make the budget book more accessible and more transparent for the residents of Revere. And so you're all being asked to include goals and accomplishments, and that'll be your first sort of entree into participating with the mayor and the rest of the RevStat team. So with that said, I think that we're going to invite up the DPW superintendent, Donnie Goodwin, to say a couple of words about how RevStat is going in his department.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for holding this for us. The biggest problem we had when we first initially came in was the lack of being able to control our work order system. So what we did, sat down with Sarah, sat with Miles, and we brought in a work order program called Facility Do. And what the work order program does is it allows me and my staff to make clear, what they're supposed to do, and it serves as a permanent record to what they do and, what that work entails. And the work order really helps us to schedule all our work based on a priority basis, because initially when I first came, there was just a paper trail. Then we kind of in-house developed our own in-house program, but it wasn't a program that could track and it would just chronologically list how many jobs we did, but it wasn't utilized throughout the entire city. We have a lot of interaction with police, fire, especially the Board of Health, the building department, and so this facility dude is going to be able to serve as a measure to, you guys can help us, we can help you, it becomes a permanent record, it goes on board, and so nothing will slip through the cracks. We'll have a permanent record, we'll be able to track it, and there are some high priority issues, some public safety issues. The biggest one for us would be with Chief Doherty, as we discussed a long time ago, was fire hydrants. Fire hydrants go out of service, and that's a big safety factor, especially in the wintertime. And at some point, when I first came in there was probably 30, 40 hydrants that were out of service at any given time. And so that was a problem for him, it was a problem for us, the communication value going back and forth, what was back in, what's up. So presently, after implementing the older system that we put in, now with the facility, there's probably less than a handful of hydrants now that are out of service at any given time. It gives him a sense of security, gives me a sense of security, kind of allows you to go home and sleep a little easier at night, knowing that, for the most part, the city is well protected in that regard. The other issue is we can track it, how long it takes to do, things of that nature. The certain type of work that's being done, and and it also makes sure that none of those requests will actually fall through the cracks and not get done. There may be something out there that's a very low priority that is not done, but it's not forgotten, which is a common problem in my department, because we're taking information from everywhere. We're taking from the various department heads, the mayor's office, we're taking it from the public in general. So we needed something in order to organize this, put it together, and make sure that nothing slipped through the cracks, that the resident's going to have confidence that when they call here and they're looking for service, that at some point in time that's going to get done. And eventually our goal will be to associate those labor hours with the parts that we're using on those particular work orders, so we can figure out how much money it actually costs people to go out there and complete that work order, and whether what we're doing is cost-effective and beneficial to the taxpayer. I mean, that's the number one priority. That kind of, I think you hit the ticket number there with, we need to save money. The revenues that are coming in are very taxed, and those revenues should not be just taken lightly and let flow out the door unnoticed. And I think this really tightens things up for us. It helps us with our overtime issues. It helps us with a lot of issues that in the past has not been taking place. And I think it's come a long way. Also in this, we developed this Click Fix program. And that it's like a faster, more effective way for our residents to communicate about the issues that affect their neighborhoods. They can be, they basically are our eyes and ears, when it comes to things like potholes and sidewalk issues and, things of this nature. And it's been very, very, very effective. And, basically the three basic principles on Click Fix is empowerment, which allows, any one of our citizens to go out there and report and track non-emergency issues. I want to say, and the various avenues we use the internet, smartphones, things of this nature that can come in. And this kind of empowers the citizens, our community groups, different organizations, different government organizations that take care of and improve their neighborhoods. And secondly is efficiency, and basically the old saying is 2 heads are better than 1. Well, 300 heads are better than 2. So, in computer terminology, which I am not the best at, it's a distributing sense that is particularly powerful at recognizing patterns, such as what might take place on any given street, and the government can't be in all places at all times. So it basically gives everybody access to taking part in improving issues in their community, and it becomes fun for certain people. So that's been an engaging type of thing. And going on to engagement, it engages citizens to take the time to report even minor issues as they see them. And as they see them fixed, they're more likely to get more engaged in their local communities, to get into some it's called like a reinforcing loop. This also makes people happy, and everyone benefits from that. And, you know, I could go on and on, but, you know, what we really need to imagine is a city in which every resident feels empowered and can play an active role in the neighborhood. Imagine that everyone is trusted and felt taken care of by the local government, and that's the goal. The goal is to make sure that everybody has faith and trust in us and wants to engage in what we're doing. So we know that already a lot of people and citizens are hardworking and out there participating. But we seek to empower these people through the use of the internet, bring them closer together, and make sure that our neighborhoods are a better place to live and work. And that's the ultimate goal for this program. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I will just let you know about this slide here that you're looking at on the screen, and it's also in your packet. This is an example of a slide that we used in one of our DPW RevStat meetings. And what it shows is the rate of increase of work orders in the system over time. So you can see that we started using the work order system in September of 2013. That was the month that we started learning how to use it. So we didn't have a lot of workers going into that system. We only had 3. But come October, the team down at the DPW put 257 work orders in that system. And over time, by the end of the fiscal 2013, we had 4,220 work orders in that system. So that just gives you a sense of the scale of work that the DPW is accomplishing every year. And of course, this year, we're already seeing higher numbers because the DPW is more familiar with the system, learning better ways to use it, and of course, we started in July. So we'll continue to track that so that we can demonstrate to the residents of Revere the value of the facility dude system. And so there's an example of a RevStat slide. And now we can have the fire chief, Chief Doherty, come up and talk about his department.
Good morning, everyone. I'll kind of preface this talk with the apprehension. Human tendency is to not embrace change well, and I guess as Miles can attest to, I didn't embrace this at all initially, but I am a large supporter. And as I stated at a meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, you know, I got that email, that first email most of us got, the police, fire, and DPW, and you'll all be getting. And it stated, you know, we need goals and objectives. And I'm saying, oh, what is this touchy-feely stuff? I don't need this, you know. But in the private side, and I've dealt with it a lot on the private side, it is critical to run things. And we have that tendency here in the public sector to be protective of our budgets and to, you know, what are they going to cut if we give them too much information? You know, is it a cut-in situation? But this is the good part about this data collection, and you're justifying a lot of what you are doing, and you didn't realize how much you really are doing. And as I stated before, my goal for the first meeting was to get out of this meeting. You know, that was the goal. The objective was never to return. So, I mean, but now I have my goals. We've set a few objectives. This past fiscal year, we met the objectives. Now we have, you know, for this upcoming fiscal year, I've already thought of things that we've, I want to place into my budget that we hope to attain. So it works good like that. And as Sarah has said, the data collection in particular is good. We started tracking with our department, and the fire, police, and DPW, of course, are the big elephants in the room. They're the ones with the large fleets, the most employees, buildings, things like that, that might not pertain to, the average department. So with us tracking things, we have to justify large parts of our budget, and in particular, on the police and fire side, our overtime. And it's a necessity. It's a public safety issue that we have to, when I go to budget, I ask for a certain amount of money for overtime, and what are you, crazy? You can't have that. We have to cut it back. But this gives me a better arguing point, or at least a justification point, to show that our overtime was based on being short personnel, or we have vacation time, things such as that. We broke it all out from one category of just overtime to about 12 categories. And it allows me to better run the department. And we're now gone into fire prevention. We never tracked fire prevention office as to the inspections and the different types of jobs that they do, which I and anybody that worked on staff would know that the fire prevention does a lot. There's a culture out there that thinks fire prevention is just a fluff, and as it goes for inspectional services. But they're out there on so many different occasions for so many different calls and for things that were required. And again, it shows, that data collection shows how much that it really is going on that you might not have even realized yourself when you actually see the numbers. So it is very good in that regard. And the biggest thing I see, even on the government side of things, is that there's only a few of us here that have been in the city as long as myself, George, John Henry. I'm 37 years. I think George is. John's, we won't even go there. And age-wise, so it is difficult. I've been the chief for over 12 years. When I came on, this is your budget, and if you didn't have experience, it can be ominous. And I had none, and then I became protective. I procrastinated, as Laurie would tell you all the time. I'd be the last one to turn in my budget. But I get a better, I can see myself now, we're breaking down all our expenses and costs for equipment and different things, why are we spending so much on tires, why is this happening, and gives us a better feel on how are we going to purchase for the future. Well, how are we going to stop this from being a problem or being an expense? So it's very good, and the ultimate thing I see it as it's a continuity of government, and it allows, as I stated before, when I became chief, there was no class for your budget. There was just, here's your budget, fill it out, make sure those numbers correspond, and when you get to the mayor's office, whatever you ask for, they're going to cut you. But now with this, there is a system for justification. There is a better argument point for maybe asking for an increase, or at least holding your own, especially if state aid is cut and things such as that. So with the overtime tracking, with Sarah's been tremendous for us. She's brought a few points in that she has had the experience, as was stated, with other communities. We're going after some money on a vendor that we didn't realize that was paying other communities for a service. We're going to seek money, so the city's going to kind of reap some benefit for that. I've given her some information that we do certain things relative to sick leave and injured leave and how we handle it, and I know she's spoken to other communities for that. So it is very good. And like I said, I came in kicking and screaming. Miles dragged me. But I think it's a very worthwhile, and I hope you see it. There are going to be situations within your own department. There isn't a lot to improve upon because you're at bare bones and you only have a certain amount of employees. With the larger departments, it's working out extremely well, at least on the fire side. And I know, talking to Donnie and Joe, I think on police and DPW. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And just to give you some more information about what you're looking at there in your packet. That is a chart that we have used in RevStat meetings. Every month, the chief sends over the Excel sheet that he uses to track overtime by category, and we take a look at it. It really does, like the chief said, it really does give us the opportunity to look at the overtime hours in total and say, wow, those look high, but let's understand what's behind it. So for July, and summer months are always the highest, obviously because of vacation time and having to cover shifts so that we can protect the city on the police and fire side. But something that you might not realize is that the summer events in the city, which add so much to the culture and flavor of the city, require the fire department to be there to protect the residents and the visitors in the case that something happens. So July obviously had a lot of detail and special event overtime hours, and that's what that is for. So it really gives us, the RevStat team, a sense of an understanding of the numbers, and as the chief said, we are able to say, if anybody says, why are these numbers what they are, we can really say, this is exactly why, and we have the evidence to support it. So now the last guest we have is the police chief, Chief Caffarelli, and he's going to give you a little bit of information about his perspective.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Unlike Chief Doherty, I think the police department, we drank the Kool-Aid pretty early on, the RevStat Kool-Aid. We kind of embraced this as a matter of necessity. You know, starting out, I have no administrative background whatsoever, so I guess I'm a clean slate with that respect. I never fought the fights that you had to fight in the past. But looking at my staffing levels, I'm bare bones, and much, you know, we kind of parallel the fire department in many respects. One of which is like fire prevention. We seek crime prevention, but I don't have the staffing to do that. So what's going to enable me to do that, to get the staffing levels that I need? It's one thing to tell you I need more bodies. That's a given. We could all use more help. I felt I had enough data to document that I need more help, I need more bodies. How am I going to do that? That's why I looked at RevStat as something that I could count on to help me to document my needs. And that's what it's been doing. So in the midst of all this, we've been formulating our regional dispatch. That's been a whole nother can of worms. We won't even get into that. But it's formed a marriage of necessity between us and the fire department. So that said, one thing we've done is we've hired our IT person who's going to be starting very soon, because we share a lot of the same data. I mean, that kind of streamlines things with respect to us. Through the treasurer's office, we're able to put somebody on who's going to handle just our IT needs between both departments. The next thing we've done is we've, like I said, we're going for the Jedi level of RevStat. We're going to start working on our strategic planning, which is going to be about a 6-month process. And again, to give me a goal for the police department in the next 5 years. Where do I want my staffing levels to be? Where do I want my crime prevention to be? You know, so through my analyst, which I've appointed to work with the Collins Institute, with our Detective Bureau, who've been formulating all of that all along. Now we get it, we put it together, we document our work, and we're able to move forward. And with the Collins Center, we're looking forward to doing that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Chief. So the chief mentioned the IT position that he is going to be sharing with the fire department. That's going to be a great addition to the team. And the way that that sort of came about is in the RevStat meeting. So we started talking about some issues and basically learned that the police chief was having to use sworn officers to do a lot of his IT work, which is you know, not ideal because we want those sworn officers to be doing policing. So what we did is we worked within the meetings to develop a plan to see if it was possible to hire this IT position. We talked with the fire department about their IT needs because we know that the police and fire departments share a dispatch system, and we came up with this solution. So we went through that process, and here we are. And I think it's going to be a really great improvement and allow the chief to sort of redeploy some of those resources to better suit the needs of the city. And so now I think the mayor's going to come back up and wrap everything up.
Well, Sarah, thank you very, very much. And I will, just in a couple of moments, we have time, maybe some of you have questions. With Mike and Sarah here, I'm sure you're willing to stick around and answer a few questions. But I really liked something that Sarah said when she first came up, when she was talking about working with the department heads. And I know people's knee-jerk reaction sometimes to change is, whoa, I don't want, slow down on this. But she said, maybe we can help you, for those of you that we haven't had a chance to work with yet. And that was really a great statement. Maybe we can help you. This is a program meant to help. I think sometimes when a program like this, where we're asking for goals and asking for data and mission statements, that can be intimidating. It's not the way that you've done things before, and it can be challenging. And certainly from the administration standpoint, it can be challenging for us because we know that things, even the budget process. I sat on the city council for 12 years. It was the same budget that was handed to us the year before, except the numbers changed a little bit. Outside of that, there was really nothing more, and there certainly wasn't as much information in the budget to help guide the administration and really guide your own departments. I really appreciate the chief, Chief Doherty. I've always known him as a touchy-feely guy, but I mean, he says he isn't. I'll take him at his word. But he really, this was something that I think initially, I think he had his back up a little on, but I think over time he has seen how it can be helpful. We're not doing this, we're not implementing this program, just to say that we're a city-stat community. I mean, this is something that, as you can see, just with the few departments we've talked about, how we can use data to measure performance and see how we can streamline things the way Donnie's been able to do in his department. We can see, or just to be able to tell somebody. People say, I've had a pothole now for a week, and why hasn't it been filled? Well, we can point to these 4,200 work orders that in less than one fiscal year that have been reported to the DPW. I mean, clearly, they're pretty busy over there. And we try, and they try, to get to every request that is given to them. But again, anecdotally now, we can point to this 4,220 number and say, listen, we're doing the best job that we can, rather than just say, well, they're busy. We can say they've got 4,220 work orders that have been reported. And we continue to try to implement procedures such as the Click Fix program that gives our residents the ability to obtain even better service. And we want that for all of your departments, because I'm sure as department heads, you want to be able to provide the best service in the most efficient manner that you can. And that's our goal as an administration. This is, this really is it's, in my opinion, it's an historic moment in the city's history that changes the way that we've done things for many, many years, and that I see potentially, having impacts on this community for decades to come. Because, again, we're looking at the way the city delivers services in a different way than we have in years past. So I'm hopeful that as we continue to roll out and expand this program, that you will take heed of what you've heard now from both chiefs, Chief Caffarelli, Chief Doherty, and our Superintendent of Public Works, Donnie Goodwin, and remember that, that they have seen progress, and they have been able to make better decisions using the data that we're able to give them. So, we're all in this together. This isn't, I think early on, and Miles and I had talked about this, I think there was a perception out there that we were implementing this so we could go out and cut budgets. That's not That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of it is to allow us to spend tax dollars more effectively and more efficiently. And if we can save money over time, that's fantastic. We're all doing a service to the taxpayers of our community. So with that, I would like to open it up to questions. If I can't answer it, which, there's a good chance I might not be able to, we've got Mike Ward here and Sarah Concannon that are here to help answer questions. So any department heads have any questions, concerns, comments? Dana. Sarah, would you like to take a crack at that?
I think the biggest thing that departments that are not in the program right now can do is number one, really get into the budget process. That's a really good opportunity for you to sort of test the waters and see how this idea of performance management will work in your department. And we want everybody to participate in that. And then, as we go forward, if this is something that you are really interested in, we can keep you apprised of our sort of plan for a fuller implementation. Like I said, the mayor's going to want to expand to other departments, and once the departments get started, a lot of the work is transferred from me to the team and the department, so we share in the work, so we can bring more departments on. So if that's something that you're interested in, we could definitely, consider you as sort of the next candidate to participate.
Did that answer your question, Andy? Yep. Andy? Sarah, don't go far.
Is this going to increase the workload of yourself and your staff?
I don't want to say it increased it.
Okay, Andy, what was that question? You want to know if the chief's workload has increased as a result of it?
The staff has increased as a result of RevStat.
Okay.
Short answer, yes, for a short period of time. And it's just to develop the system and to, once you develop the system, it's just a matter of tracking it. And it's, I have to hand everything over to Paula, my administrative assistant, who deals with Sarah on a regular basis. And she just tracks them. So it's added a little to her duties, but it's, I don't think it's anything that you can say it's a workload. It's just made us say, okay, we're going to, overtime is this with this on it. So it's not a big deal, in my opinion. Paula might say different, but yeah, I guess, but it's not a lot of work. Initially, just trying to figure out the systems that you want to track and what you want to do. But that's also maybe, like I said, I want to start tracking other things. Why are we putting springs on this engine again? Things like that. That when we go to purchase new equipment or whatever, or you might, how you use an assessment company. Why did it take them this long to do it? My goal is to get the city assessed again, and my objective is to cut down on the company we hire as their cost. Why are they charging us this much? So I have to look at that as, for equipment. We purchase a lot of equipment as the police and DPW do. So it's better now that I think of it as we go along, that I'm going to track things more readily, so make it efficient and cost effective. And in the end, maybe that allows my budget a little more flexibility.
So, well, it was perfect up to the end.
I can give an example.
Sure.
Just to add on to what the chief said, it certainly is work at the beginning to figure out how to do this, and it takes a lot of time just for the support staff. Like the chief said, Paula has really been helpful in explaining to me how things are done in her office. But what our hope is that eventually we can help you streamline processes that will then free up staff time so that it can become a time saver for you. And one example is before we came in, the chief was tracking brownout hours, which is a very important thing to track so that he can have a record of that. And they were just keeping track in a Word document, just writing out the month and the number of hours. So if the chief ever wanted to go back to say to the city council, in this fiscal year, we had to brown out 300 hours in total. He would have to go back and add manually the hours in that Word document. And all we did was move it into an Excel sheet, make it a little bit easier to input, and now when come the close of the fiscal year, when you want to know how many total brownout hours you had, it's a simple one-click to sum that column. So that is just one small example of how we can recreate and redesign processes to actually save time.
Yeah, and to just add on to what Sarah just said, now that's clearly a situation that is only going to be relevant to Chief Doherty with respect to brownouts. None of your departments are going to have brownouts, but you may have, and what eventually, should your department be inclined, or we ask you to be a participant in the program, you're going to have different issues that you're going to want to track, because your departments are going to be different and have different challenges than what the fire department has, or the police department has, or the building department has, or the DPW. There's going to be different issues in your departments. But again, this is all, and again, what Sarah just said, how can we free up hours for you? The goal of this program isn't to add workload. The goal ultimately is to show you, lay out for you, because sometimes you're so close to what you're doing that, it's hard, you need to step back sometimes and look at the numbers and see, where can I improve upon? Where do we have any problems that I might not have identified? But if you lay it out on a monthly basis, oftentimes, and I'm not sure how things, I've only been mayor for a couple of years, so I don't know how things have worked in the past, but when you meet on a monthly basis, it's really amazing how many issues come up that can be helpful for departments. If you only have that one conversation a year about the budget, and the rest of the year is just crisis management, you're talking with the mayor or with the finance director and departments. If you need something or there's a problem, then how can you really accomplish anything other than what your just day-to-day duties are? How can you have a long-term vision or goals or talk about streamlining the way things are done? You really don't have that. By meeting on a monthly basis and looking at what the workload is, maybe your department, like in the case of the police and fire, we realized they've got uniformed, public safety personnel performing what we all considered to be civilian duties. So in turn, what we've done, and we put it in the budget, was we have a dedicated MIS, MIS assistant director that will be coming on very shortly, that's going to assist them and allow their uniformed public safety officials to do what they were hired to do, and that is to go out and either perform duties of the fire department or duties of the police department. So, but again, if without meeting and without having these conversations, the chances of that happening were probably slim to none. And in the long run, it's going to be a huge benefit to them. It's going to be another officer that they're going to be able to use to help accomplish their goals and their mission. So, it's not always just about saving tax dollars per se. It's about streamlining the way things are done. And in some cases, that could mean, maybe your office could be much more effective by having an additional person in there to perform a duty that maybe is taking your time as a department head far too often. So with that, I'll continue on. Any more questions? Anybody have any questions? Yeah, Nick. We have not, I don't believe we've set a time frame, have we, Sarah? But certainly, I know that, You know, we've talked about inspectional services. We have, any other departments that we've talked about in the not-too-distant future to,
Inspectional services has been the one that we've talked about, and we had a meeting to sort of talk about some technology issues that are going on with the inspectional services department. Inspectional services is sort of a department that other cities have decided is a next really good department because it's bigger and there's a lot of good data, and it's also a public-facing department. So the inspectors who are going out are interacting with the public, so it's a very good place to sort of dig in with RevStat. But we haven't really thought beyond that about which departments are going to be coming next.
yeah. Yeah, so, you know, pretty much just, you know, for now, inspectional services, because as you can imagine, similar to the DPW, you think about the number of inspections that they do with the safe housing program that we have now and how many complaints they've got to respond to about, you know, illegal apartments. And, you know, we've got the health issues out there, you know, with the health department, you know, with, you know, complaints about rodent infestation and all this other type of things that you know, we get calls on, you know, frequently trash issues, things like that. So if we can identify, you know, problem areas, maybe there's certain issues that are creating 80% of their, you know, problems that we can identify by charting it and mapping it out, find a better way maybe to deploy his resources, and then free up others to do other things. You know, so in other words, I'm just kind of talking a little bit in the abstract right now, but you know, these are things that are very helpful. That when we have our monthly discussions, if you don't have these conversations, you're never going to learn about it. That's why it's not, you know, these are, you know, as much as it's about budgeting, it's about performance management, and that's why, you know, we use this not just for the budgeting process, but we use it as a performance enhancement type of a program for the city departments that are currently involved. But as Sarah said, if you feel as though that your department can benefit by these monthly meetings, by all means, you know, contact Miles, and we can start to talk about how we can, you know, start to fit you guys in, so that maybe your department could benefit from the data that we can assemble, and some of the you know, issues that you know, Sarah and/or Miles and the, you know, and the entire RevStat team can start to identify by doing so. So, any other questions? Well, I want to thank you. This was, as I say, it was important to us. It was important to us as an administration to bring all of our department heads in and let you know, because I know you've heard of the, you know, we've talked about CityStat. We've talked, and now our version, as I say, is called RevStat. You know, we plan on using it for a long, long time. We're just, it's just in its infancy stages right now. We're very, very lucky to have the expertise through Mike Ward and obviously his team over at the Collins Center. Sarah has been a blessing to this city. She's a very, very talented and competent person that I've come to know over the last several months, and she's been extremely helpful in helping us guide the city down the right path to providing the excellent service that I know we all want to provide. So with that, if there's no more questions, I will wrap it up. I want to thank all of you for being here, and you know, feel free to contact us if you think that RevStat is something that you'd be interested in talking about. Okay, thanks again.